All right. So now I would like to introduce our next speaker for the day. Mr. Pravin Agarwala is the CEO of a group, BetterPlace, and co-founder. Asia's largest SaaS platform for frontline work management. With over 20 years of expertise in SaaS and cloud strategy, Praveen is dedicated to revolutionizing the blue-collar industry and improving the lives of frontline workers. The topic will be HR technology, the potential to transform frontline workforce. So with this, can we have Mr. Pravin Agarwala, co-founder and group CEO, BetterPlace, over the stage with a huge round of applause, everyone.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here with all of you. Delhi is getting hotter, and I hope I'll make it calmer with all the insights that I can share today with all of you. What I'll talk about in next 20 minutes is about the frontline ecosystem, the frontline workforce that we all have, right? And sometimes we do not realize the challenges as we live with the problem that we have been. And I would like to outline some of those and perhaps give you some food for thought over next hours and days, right? We are basically, as a BetterPlace, we are Asia's largest platform for managing the frontline workforce, be it in manufacturing, retail, logistics, wherever you see frontline, that's what we deal with. And we operate in multiple locations. Here in India is where we started, Asia, Middle East, Saudi, and just launching in US as well. What I'll do is that I'll take next 5 minutes and talk about the challenges that we see in this industry, right? When I talk about frontline, how everyone is perceiving this, right? The very first thing when I meet everyone in this ecosystem, they say hiring is a big problem, attrition is a big problem, right? Typically, we see roughly 10 to 15%, in some cases 20% attrition month on month, right? Month on month. It's not annual attrition. Right? So hiring is becoming a permanent activity, a perennial activity, right? Every day it's like running like a machine and there is no end to it. And that is one of the biggest challenge in scale, speed, quality, productivity that every organization is facing today across board, right? Whichever industry you take for that matter. The other thing, because of that, and the attrition being very high, and there's a movement, right? A lot of workers are also coming from villages, remote areas, and working in tier 1, tier 2 cities. Shortage of workforce becomes a big problem. When we say there is always a good supply, people are not employed and other things, but when I speak to organizations, they are always running short of resources, right? And typically it ranges anything between 15 to 25%, depending on which location you are, which job role you are, right? So there are organizations, they're not able to scale because there are not enough people available on the ground, right? There are cases where some of the stores, especially on food and beverages, they had to shut down a particular location, particular store because there's no people to deliver things that they make or the people to serve their customers, right? So that's the kind of shortage that we live with all the time, right? The other thing that we figured out, and ma'am was just speaking about skilling, reskilling, upskilling, but in frontline, I mean in white collar, we do a lot of activities now, right? We do a lot of activities. In frontline, it's a very touch and go model. Attrition is very high. People will come, people will go. Just focus on my work today and don't bother about anything else. Because of that, the efficiency, the productivity also goes down, right? Only 3% of the working population, can you imagine that? Only 3% of the working population in frontline is formally educated. Rest all people are basically learning from each other. They just come as a plumbing guy and then they just pick up some knowledge, get to the job, move to the next one, and life continues like that. How do we do that, right? And similarly, I mean, there are multiple other challenges that I'll not go into each one of those, but one of the things that I would really like to highlight is if all of us sitting here in the room, we all have access to finance, we all have access to credit, we can take loan, personal loan, home loan, whatever. Unfortunately, in the frontline ecosystem, only 1% or less than that have access to financial access, right? And the primary reason for that is there is no data. There is nothing where you can do an underwriting. If you can bring all these systems together, then it becomes a very powerful ecosystem, right? And we also look into those 4 things that I have mentioned in the right side corner, which is like, what are the 4 E's, right? At the end of the day, whatever you do, you buy a software. I always tell all my colleagues that when I go to a shop and buy apple, I'm not buying a fruit. I'm actually buying health. Because when I eat apple, I'm just looking at my health. When you are buying software, when you are changing, you are doing a digital transformation, it's not for the fun of digital transformation. It is to gain something. What is that? These are the 4 A's, right? How do you increase efficiency, expense, your cost management, empowerment, engagement that we talk about with the individuals as well, right? And we'll talk more about that in the next session as well. Now, when you look into all these things, we also spoke to, I mean, we work with right now 1,000+ organizations across the region. We speak to a lot of you, and that's where we gain our knowledge, not by sitting inside, but only talking to everyone who is an expert. And what we hear in most of the cases is that, yes, I want to do something. I need a technology, but can this be an integrated solution? I don't want to go, like I said, Apple is for health, software is for efficiency, right? I buy something, can it solve my problem, right? Is it integrated? I don't want to buy multiple things from like 10 different partners and struggle my entire life to integrate and coordinate, right? Is that simple, easy to integrate, right? The other thing that I hear most of the time is now that I have bought it, right? I need to make changes, right? The world is not remaining same forever. You have given me something, am I logged into it, right? Is the boundary wall created? Can I customize? Can the new technology like AI and other things coming, can I use that, adopt it, right? So how extensible the solution is, that's the other thing that we hear, right? And the third thing that we hear is, finally that I have it, I need to make decisions, right? What kind of analytics that it can help me with, what kind of decisions I can make, which finally helps me in my, those 4 A's, right? Efficiency, engagement, expense, and other things. So that's how we hear. And finally, if all those things are not there, and its solution is not integrated and so on, and in frontline, it's a bigger challenge than white collar, which is your adoption, right? I mean, we actually, and I'm being very honest and transparent, we deployed a solution in one of the largest logistics company in Mumbai. Excellent go live, everything worked well. The users were not using it, right? At the end of the day, if they're not using it, then what's the point, right? So adoption was a problem. So everything was thought through, but adoption was not thought through, right? That was a big learning. So how do you, from day one, engage the user, and what is the value that you show them, that becomes very important as well. And when they have multiple solutions, they get lost, they're not that tech savvy in the sense of using technology and so on, so it becomes a problem, right? So that's what we hear, and what we said is that, okay, if this is what we hear, then what do we need to create, right? So we said, instead of thinking in silos, in verticals, right? If you, I mean, I'm sure that you all have adopted technology and in different scale, dimensions and all. But if you look at US market, for example, and the world was all integrated solution in late 90s, early 2000, then it started moving towards verticals and niche play, right? So I have one software talking about engagement, learning, attendance, and so on and so forth, right? This world is flipping again completely towards one integrated, right? And when we looked into frontline, we said this is a must because the kind of scale and other things you cannot achieve with multiple niche plays. So instead of having A star, A star, A star of everything, might be we are great with B star or A plus with an integrated, sophisticated solution. The good news is that BetterPlace provides integrated A star, of course, but that's the tendency across the world that we see today, right? So what we have done, we said, okay, if we have to solve these problems, in the first part that we spoke about the problems, then the voice of customer, we bring everything together as one single solution. So we look into hire to exit, hire to retire. Most of the cases, unfortunately, in frontline, we see it hire to exit rather than hire to retire because people keep moving from one company to the other for different valid reasons. But we create that part, right? So that's one, which takes care of your entire process. Now, when we look into that, it's also important that once you have done it, your hiring, your onboarding, your training, your KYC, attendance, payroll, vendor management, and so on and so forth, whatever you need in one single place, one single experience, but to also ensure that a lot of your workforce is perhaps not on your payroll, they're also on third-party payroll, right? Or they are flexi staff, right? How do you manage that through a integrated payroll solution as well? And finally, which is also very important, and how do we empower the individuals, right? So if you have your data, we partner with banks and BFCs, and we also provide loan to them, right? Today, if you go to a, let's say, a big basket, a Swiggy, a Rapido, you apply a delivery boy, a driver, a warehouse guy applies a loan, actually we give the loan to them. How does it help the organization? It ensures the engagement is increasing, and we show this that you are getting it because you are employee of this organization. It's not a third party. This is a benefit which is coming to you. So the engagement with the organization, thereby potentially reducing the attrition, thereby at least bringing down your daily perennial hiring requirements down to some extent, right? So that's the entire platform that we look at, and we strongly believe when you stitch this together is when you solve the problem at scale for the frontline workforce, right? Now, those are the components, right? But what does it also solve, right? Like I said, most of the cases that we see, 70 to 80% of the workforce, on average, is third party, right? They are deployed by someone else. So contract labor management system becomes a very key aspect, right? We work with large organizations that as I mentioned, they might be having 20 vendors, 100 vendors, 1,000 vendors, right? How do you ensure that everything is running seamlessly? As a CHRO, as HR head, as learning, you do not want to have multiple different touch points, one system talking about something. I was talking to one of the CHROs where we just went live. The problem that he mentioned is that if I need to get how many people turned up on day one or 8 o'clock in the morning at my job, it takes me 1 week to get that information because systems are not integrated. I don't have dashboards. They're doing in multiple sites, multiple clients, multiple vendors, and so on, right? So how do you ensure that there is a seamless experience for all your contract labor management, right? So that's the first thing. Of course, you have your own frontline workforce as well. So that can be also taken care of as an HRMS that we call. It's the same solution with the addition of vendor management in one. The access management is slightly different, and in the other case, it's largely your own employees or flexi. But what is the beauty? Now as a HR head, as a group CHRO, as a different departments within the HR and operations, you do not want one system which is looking into your contract, the other one which is your full-time employee, get different views, different learning, different plan, and so on, right? You still want to keep them separate in terms of your reporting, data, decision making. But when you want to see this together, you also want to get a one single view, right? And that is where we strongly believe bringing these things together as one platform that I spoke about, and having those cohort helps us in a very smart way, right? The other thing that I mentioned is attrition is a big problem. Onboarding, there are organizations, and most of you would be having a similar situation. You have operations running in multiple cities, multiple locations. Onboarding becomes a huge problem. There's a guy somewhere, let's say I'm sitting here in Gurgaon, Dwarka, and my hiring is happening in Kanpur, in Tejpur in Assam, in Kollar in Karnataka, and so on. You don't want to have a complex process. You want a seamless experience across all, right? How do we do that? That's the onboarding suite. And finally, of course, reports and other things, it becomes important from a solution point of view. So the platform, which is integrated, solves your business problems rather than saying, I have a feature, what is the real problem that you want to solve, right? That is how a platform actually creates apple to health solution to efficiency, right? Some of the organizations that we work with, from new age organizations like Amazon or Flipkart or Zepto and others, to the large organizations like Aditya Birla or Reliance and so on and so forth. It's our privilege that we got the opportunity to partner with them and create value for them and their people. And I'm very sure we will get the opportunity to meet you, learn from you, and explore the opportunity to partner and create more value. Thank you so much for listening to me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pravin. Can you please be with us for a moment? And I request Mr. Surendra Alahavat, Director HR, the Indian Hotels Company Limited, please join us and facilitate Mr. Pravin for the insightful and interesting presentation. Can we have a louder round of applause, everyone?